Hey there, Cosmic Warriors, and welcome back. Welcome back to another video. And if you are new here, my name is Hannah. I am a Western Practical Astrologer. So today we're going to be talking all about this full moon in Cancer happening on the 26th of December, so the day after Christmas. Happy Christmas to all of those of you who celebrate Christmas and just happy holiday season overall to everyone. Hello, creator. Hi, how are you doing? You said that you were a little bit early today. I hope you're doing well. Also, I hope that a lot of you are having some well needed and well deserved rest over the holiday season. And I can't believe it. We're coming to the end of another year. 2024 is upon us. All right, so let's get into this full moon in Cancer. We're ending 2023 with this, I would say, this beautiful full moon. It really is a beautiful full moon. Hi, Danielle. Welcome. Hi, how are you? Hello, Kayla. Hello. Yes, I'm doing good. Thank you very much. How are you doing? Are you having a good week so far? And Alexander, hello, hi, how are you? Uh, it's Wednesday today, isn't it? I'm not used to coming on Wednesdays, which is it's an interesting one. Usually I'm here on Fridays or Sundays, but I wanted to get this video up a little bit earlier. But yes, full moon in Cancer happening on the 26th of December. Now, I know that most of you know about this already, but I'm just wanting to go over it because for anybody who doesn't know, but I'm hosting a trip in 2024. There is a quick survey down below. You can find it linked down below. It takes like 2 minutes to fill in. And in that survey, just let me know, where would you like to go? When would you like to go? Stuff like that. And I'll be hosting some fun astrology workshops over there. But yeah, I need your feedback. I would appreciate your feedback very, very much. So it would just be a really great opportunity, a great way for us to meet in real life. And we'll be able to explore a different destination together. So that would be super, super fun. And just to make you aware of all of the astrology products that I offer, there's many. The 2024 calendar is actually available right now, but you can get it for a cheaper price by signing up to Patreon. On that note, thank you so much to my patrons over at Patreon. You know who you are. I always appreciate your support, very much so. Thanks to your support, I'm also able to do what I do here. So really, I value your support in that way. So yeah, if you are interested there, you can gain access to behind the scenes information, PDF guides. There's actually a video up at the minute that isn't available on YouTube quite yet, and it is the Scorpio mythology video. And there's also a behind the scenes video all about the eating habits of Venus. Did you know that Venus can rule our eating habits in astrology? Did you know that? Well, you'll be able to find a video all about it over on my Patreon. Oh, I skipped ahead a little bit there. Uh, right. So, Kayla, you said this Mercury retrograde has been horrible for you. So you have an Aquarius rising. So this means this part of the retrograde is in your 12th house right now. Okay. Okay. So that can be quite a tricky one, I suppose, with it being in the 12th house, the house of the unconscious. But hey, you know what? That could be quite a useful retrograde. So this section of the retrograde for spiritual purposes, maybe a bit of journaling. Maybe it's just a good opportunity, Kayla, for you to really go inward, do a bit of reflection. But that can be difficult if you've got a million things to do or if you don't have the time. Alexander, is it? Oh, it's definitely Wednesday. Let's see. Mercury retrograde got you. And Danielle, you said you were just about to ask when the full moon was, but the date was right there. Oh, my gosh, there's something going on here. We've all discussed this. I think we all know. Okay, Mercury's retrograde right now, and so there's a few wee things that could be coming up for a lot of us. And creator Alex is voting for Antarctica. You- and real talk Tina, hi, welcome. Oh, where are you? Oh, well, yeah, I am. I'm doing well. Thank you so much. I appreciate you saying that. I appreciate your support. I hope you're doing good as well. And I hope that all of you are looking forward to a little bit of time off. Do you have any time off over this Christmas/holiday season? Yeah, I hope you're able to rest a little bit over this time period. Right. So a few of the aspects. Let's go over a few. So this is what we're going to be touching on. As you can see here, what I really like about this full moon, of course, so the sun and moon are opposing each other. That's what happens during full moons. It's whenever the moon is exactly opposite the sun here. So they're opposing each other at 4 degrees. But the really interesting, and I would even suggest beautiful thing about this is, so the moon is making a sextile with Jupiter, and then the sun is making a trine to Jupiter. But then at the same time, the sun is making a sextile to Saturn, and then the moon is making a trine to Saturn. Do you see that? So between the earth, water elements here, we are noticing actually this relationship going on between, especially I would say, between Cancer, Pisces, and Taurus. You could also, you say, with the relationship, looking at Capricorn in this regard too. But yeah, a lot of earth, a lot of water. So I feel as if this full moon is indeed about feeling. Okay, this is about sinking in, setting in to our emotions, allowing ourselves to feel, allowing ourselves to process. And this is also about tapping into our senses. So, as I say, these are a few aspects, but the other aspects include Ceres making a trine to Chiron. All right, so this is happening in Sagittarius and Aries, so there's some fire here activated. But then Mars is also conjunct Mercury retrograde in Sagittarius, and then they're both making a square to Neptune. And then we also notice how Mars is making a square to Juno. Okay, so with these aspects, yes, what I think could very well come up are potential arguments, disagreements, not being on the same page. But with Mercury actually being retrograde, I just have a feeling with this one that this is more about reflection, okay? This is more about contemplation. It's almost as if we'll be able to sense, am I becoming angered? Do I feel like I really just want to give this person a piece of my mind? Take a beat, right? Take a beat. Maybe this is the thing of like, is it really worth it? Is it really worth getting into a super confusing place here? But then again, Mercury retrograde is 25 degrees, but it's making the exact same degree as Neptune. So this can be quite a potent degree here. And what I think this can indicate is, okay, building castles in the sky energy. Is this real? Where's the evidence for this? Do I really want to go there? Is this necessary? What's the reality of this situation right now? Maybe I'm getting caught up in a world of fantasy. Maybe I'm getting caught up in my own sort of dreams here or my own visions here. But the great thing about this is, like I said, there's plenty of earth to help ground us, okay? To help support us, to help us actually tuning in with the body. Okay. Also, the other thing is that the North Node is making a trine to Mars and Mercury retrograde, and then there is that sextile as well. And then the last sort of area I want to mention with this one and what we're going to be covering is Neptune trine Venus, which I'm actually looking forward to talking about. And with that in mind, Pluto is at 29 degrees, okay, this anaretic degree, the final degree. and it's making a sextile there to Venus as well. Keep in mind that the dispositor of Venus is Pluto. Well, one of the dispositors, the modern day dispositor in this case. So Pluto is there in Capricorn, making that sextile to Venus in Scorpio. So we're going to touch on these things. So just a quick reminder here of full moons, and also to inform you that this is like an extra dose of Cancer energy. So not only is the moon home in Cancer, right? The moon, of course, rules Cancer within astrology. So when the moon is in Cancer, it's home there, it's in its domicile, but also it's at 4 degrees. And this is the Cancerian degree in the zodiac. And then the other thing about this is within the Cancer decan. So as you can see, very prominent Cancerian energy. So we're going to get into that. But with 4 degrees, 4 degrees is very much about, in numerology terms, this is about building, this is about discipline, commitment. What I really love about the number 4 is I always imagine it as a house, as a building, as a table even. You need those sort of 4 legs or the 4 walls there. Of course, this isn't always the case when it comes to building, but this is just what I'm saying. This is what I imagine it to be. I just imagine that structure. I imagine those 4 corners holding something in place. So yeah, this is very much a committed energy. This is a consistent energy. This is about discipline, as I say, and trustworthiness as well. But of course, with the number 4, there can be this rigidity. Okay, there can be this stubbornness, there can be this lack of flexibility and being able to explore other ways of being or moving and existing. So I would even say that this can be particularly heightened given that not only is the moon within the Cancer decan, but the sun is also within the Capricorn decan. And with Capricorn, I think reflects the number 4 very well. Capricorn can be quite rigid within its approach, but this still, to look at this in a more sort of positive light, this can be quite a supportive energy. I think this full moon coming to the end of the year, this is the type of energy that invites our ability to be realistic, to be practical, to consider the long haul as well, which is an interesting one because if you think about it, Mercury is retrograde right now, and it's retrograde in Capricorn. And it started its retrograde from 8 degrees, I believe. I may need to double check that figure, but I'm pretty sure it started its retrograde from 8 degrees. But it's still, it's going back to the 22nd degree of Sagittarius. So basically, all of this is to say, we are currently reevaluating and reassessing practical matters. We are at the moment being asked to be somewhat realistic and to reorganize the ways in which we communicate or to reconstruct how it is that we convey information or the ways in which we educate others. So I do think with the sun then coming along, of course, sun also enters Capricorn tomorrow. Capricorn season begins tomorrow, winter solstice and everything, it's coming. So with the sun then coming along, it's almost like, right, okay, well, this is about purpose, okay? Keep in mind that the sun is also an important component when it comes to new moons and full moons. The sun, it's a part of it. You need the sun here. The sun and moon actually, they work as a team within your chart. In my view, they look at yin yang. you consider how the moon really only reflects the light of the sun, if you will. So you need the two. they work they work together. And so I think with the sun coming along here during this full moon, it's looking at, okay, well, we're ending the year and we're considering our standards, we're considering our own authority, our own autonomy, I would say as well. We're considering tradition, and we're also considering our own successes and achievements, and what we have gained this year and what we have learned this year and what's been lost too. If we even consider how we come to the end of the year, and in a very practical sense, when I say this, in a very practical sense, we tend to reflect, don't we? We tend to reflect at the very end of the year, and we think about, well, what did I achieve this year? And what types of friendships did I make? And what happened? What were the pivotal moments of 2023? And what challenges did I face? And what lessons did I learn from these challenges? And who did I connect with? And which people did I relate to the most? You go over these things, and all you have to do is look at Instagram, and you see this with people making the reels. I am sure there's going to be some sort of trend. This happens every year. There's a trend, and it's about the previous year, and everybody jumps in the trend, and it's some sort of um, music, or it's a voiceover of some kind, and people just show their highlights, right? This is like a highlight reel. Of course, Instagram, social media is full of just highlight reel after highlight reel. Of course, we don't show everything about our lives on social media. Um, but this is the whole thing, that this is quite fitting, I feel, with the full moon in Cancer. This is what I'm trying to say, because it really is about reflecting. The moon in Cancer also further highlights this. It really is about, okay, well, I'm going to go within here, and I'm going to contemplate upon what has happened. What has happened this year? That can be a very eye-opening experience. But then I also further want to mention with this, from us reflecting and going over the previous year, this can also assist us and support us when it comes to any sort of intention setting or goal setting as we approach the next year, okay? As we look toward 2024. And I also want to mention with this then, with the full moon being in Cancer, this is also about releasing and shedding and considering, okay, well, what really, in a mature sense, right? Sun is still in Capricorn, in a mature, rational sense, like, what have I learned this year regarding family, regarding connection, regarding support, regarding care? These are very much Cancer keywords. Cancer is the nurturer, the caregiver. And this, of course, isn't just about like nurturing our loved ones and caring for our loved ones. It is also about comforting ourselves. It's also about our own emotional needs, our emotional security. So, indeed, I think that this is a full moon where we're really going to be diving deep. Okay, diving deep. And even I'm just going to share a little experience here, and I hope that that's okay. But so I will be seeing my family on this day. Okay, the 26th of December, I'll be spending time with my family. And whilst I will be looking forward to spending time with my family and connecting and pouring just more of my attention into those relationships, I also know that from us, unfortunately, we have experienced two major losses as a family over the past 2 years, major losses. And I know that I'm gonna feel that. I just know that I'm already feeling that, I feel like whilst Christmas and the holidays can be seen as a time of gathering and family time and just even the people, valuing the time that you spend with the people that you have in your life. Of course, it can extend past family, but it's also a time when you realize who is no longer here. And that can be quite emotional. Okay. A lot of emotions can come up, but I think at the same time, this way, there can be a way of trying to create a sort of tradition within the family as a way to honor those who are no longer with us. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that. I'm just going to read through a couple of your comments before I move on. Danielle, you said you have been. Should I just show on the? I can do that, can't I? Yeah. Okay. Okay. I hope that's okay. Actually, am I allowed to show? I suppose you can see it anyway. So you've been thinking a lot about traveling lately, and your mum brought up a trip she wants to go on with you too. Nothing set in stone yet, but you guess you'll find out what happens. Oh, that would be fun. A lot about traveling. Oh, so you're gonna potentially then travel with your mum somewhere. Oh, Danielle, that sounds really lovely. You'll have the best time. Love it. And Real Talk Tina, you said, sorry, let me check that. Okay. Being a Capricorn sun, Scorpio rising, life is lifing. Okay. Well, so Scorpio rising, if I was to think of whole signs, sun would be in the third house. So Mercury retrograde right now in your third house. So that's like a double dose of Mercury because that's the traditional. So that's the house that Mercury traditionally rules in astrology. You'll get through this. Creator, you said you've been off for 4 months. You were burnt out. Oh my gosh, really? You said you were just burnt out just from working so much, overdoing it. Well, Creator, I wish you well. I hope you are resting plenty. Yeah. How do you say that in an Irish accent? Like lifing? 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 I don't know. Lifing. I don't know. Am I saying it right? uh, um, okay. Aspects, boundaries. I'm just kind of going down because I can't really, there's so many. There's just so many comments at this point. But it does look like, you're having fun in the chat. And I really like that. I like that you're conversing and having a good time. What are you typology people? Is that yeah. I don't know. You say Alexander ENFJ. I don't know. I don't see it. I don't see it. I say a lot, don't I? Oh, Danielle, you said that you really want your dad and your grandma to go as well. Oh, oh. Oh, who knows, Danielle? Things could change. Oh. Okay, right. Let's move on to some aspects. So, here's the thing about this full moon is we want to look at June 2022 because there was a new moon in Cancer. So, during new moons, we set intentions, right? We plant new seeds and we open up a new chapter, if you will, or we add to a chapter that's already there. There's more to that chapter that we bring. So think, if you can, this is why it's really, really important or beneficial to have a moon journal and to reflect upon, okay, well, did I set any new intentions June 2022 within my Cancer house to do with support? Okay, intentions to do with care, to do with comfort, to do with emotional security, being receptive, to do with protection. These sort of Cancerian keywords. And then there was the first quarter moon, which happened this year. So March 2023, there was that first quarter moon. And so there was a bit of challenge, right? There was some challenges, but there was also the ability to strengthen, right? There was the ability to overcome some obstacles within our Cancerian house back then. So these challenges could have, of course, they could have created some type of struggle when it came to the intentions that you set within your Cancer house. But again, like I said, you can also strengthen. You can learn so much about yourself, about the matters related to your Cancer house in this way. And the other thing I want to say is the moon. So just to say, this is a moon. So with the full moon, it's a moon of illuminating the intentions that we set June 2022. And we may reap some rewards. Things may come to light. There may be greater clarity. I can already sort of sense what that is for me. Come to think about it too, I have the South Node in Cancer, and this full moon is going to conjunct the South Node. And then the new moon in Cancer was also conjunct the South Node there. So I can sort of think about what will come up for me in a personal way. I'm not going to share what that is, but I can think about it. And the other thing I want to mention with this is back in June 2022, when the new moon in Cancer was taking place, Black Moon Lilith was also in Cancer. And there was a trine to Vesta in Pisces as well. Keep in mind that Saturn is currently in Pisces. And I think last time I checked, Vesta in Pisces was quite close to that 2-degree point. So what I'm trying to get at here is, well, the intentions that we set back in June, they may have been pretty complex, okay? Maybe coming from a place of, I'm going to say it, trauma, maybe coming from a place of fear, or coming from a place of feeling excluded or exiled or alone. You know, I often think of Black Moon Lilith in the chart as, you think about the mythology as this place where it feels like we've been excommunicated or just exiled from a situation, or like we've been shamed, or feeling like we've been really judged, or as if, we're just left out in the cold. Okay, the land is barren and we're weakened and it's not fair and it's cruel, and how could people treat us like that, and how could they not see us? So I would say that Black Moon Lilith can, within its expression, point toward vulnerability and rejection and abandonment too. Chiron often also looks at rejection and abandonment, but I think Lilith can also point toward these things. But at the same time, Lilith can also point toward our own sort of liberation and how we free ourselves, and how we rise up, and how we sort of take these sort of hypothetical chains off us, and we just go, no, I'm pushing back and I'm living my life. There's this freedom. There's this freedom when it comes to Lilith. Like I said, there can be a liberating quality. So maybe back then there was something liberating, to do with our emotions or our feelings and family, and more so focusing on our own emotional needs at times because maybe we needed to. Or maybe there was some sort of liberation to do with letting go of the past and not getting caught up in these loops and these cycles and stuff like this, or exploring maybe why it is that we can get caught up in certain loops and cycles, and how it is that we've been treated, by family, and what happened in the home, and, really just homing in on our family relationships and our home life in this way. So, yeah, interesting to think that with this full moon in Cancer, well, there's a release. There's reward, there's clarity, clarity. And I feel as if the clarity is a reward within itself. Reaping rewards isn't just about, it's not a material thing necessarily when it comes to full moons. I think especially you have to consider the sign that the full moon is in. And I think in this instance, with the full moon being in Cancer, the rewards are more about care. They're more about your emotional depth and how it is that you look after yourself and how it is that you connect with others on an emotional level as well. And how emotional connection is vital, like vital for our health, especially like our emotional health. And what's coming to mind is just that we do need each other as humans. We do need each other. I feel as if, just gonna say it, I feel as if these things are kind of secondary a lot in today's society, where it's like just focus on yourself, and um it's more about you. I just feel like there's a lot of me energy today. But I feel as if Cancer really reminds us that we do need each other. Of course, there can be the negative expressions of this, where we're too needy, we're smothering, we're overprotective, we're overbearing, and we just can't let go of the past, and we're clingy and we're moody, and we give into addictive sort of tendencies, and we just don't know how to let go, right? We just don't know how to let go. But quite possibly, this is a full moon that's going to assist us in this. And maybe coming from that super needy place can actually push people further away. And maybe we get that mixed up slightly um, today. And I just think that there is a sense or a level of dependence that is required within relationships. So, yeah. Maybe this is a full moon that's going to point toward these things, highlight these things for us. But again, I think this also needs to be balanced in a way, right? Of course, the full moons look at balance. The sun is also in Capricorn, so there is a level of, okay, still independence, being able to fend for yourself, being able to make your own decisions without relying on others, depending on others. It's interesting because I'm saying this, and like I said, I have the South Node in Cancer. The full moon will be on my South Node, but then this also means that the sun will be right on my North Node. And having this nodal axis in my chart, I really like to think of the nodes as, it really is about a balance. Um, Leaning too much toward the North Node can also come with its disadvantages, basically. It's not just where, you follow the North Node and that's it. It's also about remembering those South Node qualities. So in this instance, I think it is about a healthy sort of give and take, a healthy back and forth, a healthy balance, um, of us considering, okay, what our individual emotional needs are, but then also being able to support other people, but doing so maturely. Doing so maturely. I think the sun in Capricorn is very much reminding us of the importance of being mature, okay, being adult-like, especially if you're someone who you went through your first Saturn return, or maybe many lessons have come up for you about maturity and growth, etc. But yeah, I wanted to share that. I think these qualities should also be taken into consideration. Now, Vesta has also been in Cancer for the last few weeks, and Vesta will be retrograde in Gemini during this full moon. So the retrograde in Cancer has also occurred, the Vesta retrograde. So over the past few weeks leading up to the full moon, I think many of us have been having to reevaluate any clingy behaviors, any smothering behaviors, any overly dependent behaviors, um, but also at the same time reassessing how we can be sensitive toward other people's needs, and how we can show compassion and kindness toward other people too, and realizing, yes, it's not all about us. It's not all about us. And that emotional support is I can't express how important it is to have some sort of emotional support in your life, where you realize, hey, you know what? I can open up to someone. I can let them in. Because our emotions, they can be difficult to navigate. And our emotions can fluctuate from one moment to the next. And often we don't know why or where they're coming from. And we can be really up and down. But to be able to process them is so important. And I think a part of that is having people in our lives, whether this be family, whether this be friends, whether this be a partner, whether this be your therapist, whoever, but having people in our lives to vent to talk to just share, to share in a place of honesty and openness about how we're feeling. That, I think, that can be so healing, so healing. So the moon, of course, is home in Cancer, like I said, and then the dispositor of the sun, which is Saturn, that's in Pisces. So this is further highlighting this stuff, further highlighting this stuff. Um, and yeah, I have put there around the same degree as Vesta. So thinking about Vesta back in 2022 in Pisces. So in a way, Saturn here in Pisces is sort of a part of that Vesta and Pisces story. Vesta, of course, looks at our eternal flame, and how we protect our eternal flame, how we support it. And so, with this Pisces energy, I think there are themes here to do with spirituality, to do with emotional maturity, to do with gaining clarity regarding our own emotional boundaries, perhaps too, our own emotional limits. Maybe that's a big thing that Saturn and Pisces has been teaching us, because Pisces can sort of open up the floodgates, and there can just be like this overwhelming sense when it comes to the emotional world. For example, you know, um, perhaps looking for things to make us sad, or actively looking for things that make us upset and stuff like this. I can be like this. I can be like this. I have my moon in the eighth house, and I can really go to these very intense, like dark places. And I can find it hard to know when to stop, listening to that song on repeat, because I'm like, oh, I want to feel that emotion. I want to go there. But I think Saturn in Pisces is sort of saying, how about you have some sort of sensible time management to do with all of this? It's like, yes, okay, feel how you feel, but maybe there's also a part of it where it's healthy to have these boundaries, these limitations, where you're not over indulging in that emotion, or becoming sort of addicted to certain feelings, to certain ways of feeling, where it can go on and on and on. So, yeah, maybe Saturn making that trine to the moon can be quite supportive for us. Then, like I said, Sun trine Jupiter retrograde and then sextile the moon here with Jupiter retrograde. So, this can be quite revitalizing energy. This can be uplifting energy. This can be quite optimistic energy as well, where maybe we feel like, you know what, we're in good spirits here, or we mean well. Jupiter, I think, can also look at having good intentions at times, or just coming from a place of genuine sort of connection, where we want to share, or we want to try something new, we want to be adventurous. And so, yeah, this I think can be quite a supportive, grounded energy with respect to these things. Quite a guiding energy too. Maybe this is even pointing towards some type of hope. Hope, I think, especially if it is that we're coming from a pretty hopeless place or a helpless place. It's having that hope and it's kind of going, well, who do I have and what's good in my life and what can I appreciate in my life and how can I reach for the good? How can I strive for the good? Now, Sun will also sextile Saturn, and then there will be that trine between Saturn and the Moon. So, this is grounding energy. This is stable energy, like I said, but this is also about acceptance of what we cannot control. Um, and this reminds me of this. It's taken. So it's called the Serenity Prayer, and I want Pisces. It's by Reynolds. Niebuhr is how you spell the second name. But it reads, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. I can't express how much that has helped me the past while. And I think that there's so much to be said about that, which I'm not really going to dive too much more into, but maybe just to read it one more time and you can reflect on it for yourself and see how that even relates to your life and see how it resonates. So, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And then lastly there, notice how Saturn is making that sextile to Jupiter. So we're going to see this here um, with Saturn and Jupiter and the sextile that's being created. Of course, Jupiter is still retrograde. So there is a sense of like, okay, time to reflect, time to reevaluate when it comes to these more emotional matters, these grounding exercises when it comes to paying attention to our sensations, to the body, healing, these types of things. And the interesting thing I just want to further say with this is Jupiter being retrograde, well, Jupiter will turn direct, I believe, on the 30th. So it will be from that 5-degree point. Um, so just keep that in mind. Perhaps I'll talk more about that closer to the time. So I'm just going to go ahead because there's a lot of you talking in the chat, which I'm really glad. I'm really glad that you are. I think you're talking about the Myers-Briggs. Fun. Right. So let's now look at more aspects here. Mercury retrograde conjunct Mars, and then also Mars making that square to Juno, and also there is the opposition happening. Well, to be fair, the orb is quite wide between Neptune and Juno, but I'm just going to throw it in there and make it as a T-square between Sagittarius, Virgo, and Pisces. And then, of course, there's also the North Node and Chiron in Aries. Right, so watch what you say. Watch what you say. But the thing is that we're more likely to reflect on our words before we speak so abruptly or so bluntly. I think as well, there's something about there being more depth to our words or wisdom. You know, Sagittarius is really a sign of wisdom. I think that is such an important piece to this sign. Sagittarius, of course, can be wild and untamed and kind of crazy at times. Free spirited, right? Free spirited, which I love about this sign, this archetype. But I always go back to the mythology of Sagittarius, and I always think about Chiron and how, Chiron was a philosopher and a teacher and a mentor. Chiron was a centaur who was different to the other centaurs. The other centaurs were more wild and free, and they were often intoxicated and they were often aggressive. But Chiron wasn't like that. Chiron was wise. So there is this side to Sagittarius that can indeed be wise. And so I think that this is an opportunity for us to tap into our inner wisdom, into our inner knowing. And Sagittarius can also be a highly intuitive sign as well in this respect. So I think that this energy can point toward greater insight, greater intuition, especially when we look here at how Mercury retrograde is making that square to Neptune. So there could be some great pieces, some great work or arts or creative projects that come from this full moon. And many creative ideas and visions that come from this full moon, which I think could be really great. And this could also be an opportunity for us to receive the answers that we've been looking for. I actually did it was oh, no. No, I think I'm getting that mixed up. I was about to suggest that there was something that I did that related to it, but no, that was something different. But yeah, this could be where there are answers that we've been looking for, and they come, and there's just greater insight in this way. And we are coming to the end here of, well, Jupiter retrograde and then Mercury retrograde, but this is the full moon of that inner knowing and that contemplation and that reflection and just easing into things. I think this is more of an ease, this is more of a comforting energy, this is more about supporting ourselves, this is about being receptive, insightful, nostalgic, sentimental. We could perhaps, really bond with people during this full moon or reminisce. Cancerians love to reminisce. My mother is a Cancerian, and she's always talking about the past in terms of like memories. And she has loads of photographs of all of us whenever we were kids. And I remember going over to my family's house not too long ago and digging out these photo albums and just going over them and just being in awe. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, can't believe that all of these things happened. And that's my brother and that's my sister. Oh my gosh, that's me whenever I was a baby. Can you tell I have South Node in Cancer? Um, So yeah, I'm a very like sentimental person. I just I went through a period where I thought that I wasn't, and I thought that like I didn't need much, but I don't know, the older I get, the more I feel like there's just certain things that I want to keep, and there's certain things that are really, really important to me and I value a lot. So all of this is to say that yeah, this full moon can very much bring out these feelings for many of us. Now, the dispositor here of the Sagittarius energy is Jupiter, right? So Jupiter is a retrograde, it's in Taurus. So I think that the reflection, this wisdom that we're talking about here, I think it's even tied to self-worth, it's tied to comforts, it's tied to our desires, our values, our pleasures. And here's the other thing about this. This is part of a bigger story. This is part of a longer timeline. So I want to just remind you that back in the summer, so it was around the summer of 2023, just before Jupiter was about to station retrograde in Taurus from 15 degrees. There was that pre-shadow period that led up to this retrograde beginning. Okay. And we want to remember that time period, okay? Because it's most likely going to be that around this full moon, what comes up, right, related to self worth, related to comforts and our desires, these things are going to be tied to that story, tied to the things that we were going over back then. And this is all part of a process. This is all part of a chapter, if you will. And what I think a big lesson from 2023 is, and I've been talking about this time and time again, it's this whole thing of recognizing what and who we take for granted. I think that that is a huge, huge thing that Jupiter and Taurus has been teaching us, especially in the position that it's been in since Jupiter first entered Taurus back in, was it May 2023? Really, I can't express it enough. It's just like, you know, who have we taken for granted, and what have we taken for granted, and how can we show greater appreciation to certain people and things, and even appreciation toward our certain abilities we have, certain qualities that we bring or offer, certain skills that we have. And so maybe the full moon is also going to trigger this reflection, or this, yeah, do you know what? I can see this. I can see that maybe over the past year I've taken X, Y, and Z for granted, but here is what I'm going to learn moving forward. This is what I'm going to do now. And I think that that relates back to that quote that I was talking about earlier, especially the piece where it says, the courage to change the things that I can. And it's sort of like, I think with Saturn being in the position it's in, Jupiter being in the position it's been in for the past year or so, I think a lot of this has to do with control, what we can and cannot control as individuals, as humans, what is within our reach, what is within our control. And so, yeah, I think this Sagittarius energy during the full moon, it's going to bring up these sort of bigger picture questions and themes, and we may question ourselves. And then the other thing, of course, is the T-square. So with Mars, there is that square to Juno, and then the other square to Neptune. So use discernment. Use your own judgment. Don't believe everything you hear, and be open to other points of view. It's not it's not about you. There's someone in my life who um said this to me ages ago, and yeah, he said to me, it's not about you. And it was just, of course, there's a whole story to it. There's the context of why he said that to me, but it was really, really eye-opening to me, and that maybe there is something about this full moon where it isn't necessarily about um us as an individual, and that there are larger themes at play that we can't necessarily pinpoint or put our finger on. And maybe this is also about being able to relate on a more deeper sort of collective level with other people, and getting out of our own way, maybe too. And I also think that Mercury retrograde and Mars can act as the mediator in this respect. The mediator when it comes to anything that is nonsensical, or anything that we get too caught up in with respect to our relationships. Any sort of negative judgments or false narratives and stuff like this. Maybe this Sagittarius energy is asking us, okay, maybe be a little bit more open here. Maybe consider that there's something that you haven't noticed quite yet, or what can you learn from somebody else right now? How can you listen? Then Ceres also is making that trine to Chiron. So yeah, this can be indeed quite a sensitive time. Grief can come up, right? So Ceres is also tied to grief. It's tied to loss, separation, attachment. So these qualities, I think, could come up, especially whenever we reflect upon um, freedom, whenever we reflect upon inspiration, hope. Maybe this is about us looking at the good times, considering the joyful memories, or this is about us seeing what we are attached to in healthy ways when it comes to the things that we really strive for. And maybe there's something here about reaching greater heights when it comes to our own independence and individuality. And of course, the North Node is there in Aries too. So there is something about independence and individuality here, of course, with the trines being made to Sagittarius. But it's also about the wisdom of cooperating in healthy ways. We can reconcile, perhaps. Consider how the South Node is also there in Libra and it's making sextiles to Mars and Mercury retrograde. But maybe, excuse me, I seem to have like a bit of a hiccup there. And then it's also about facing the challenge. For me, what's really come up is anything that I'm afraid of, anything that's holding me back from facing life head on. This North Node energy is so much about, especially with Chiron, by the way, especially with Chiron, it is so much about, okay, do you know what? You can do this. It's just in your head. This fear, it's not real. Like this is something that you're building up in your head, but if you just do the thing, you'll realize that it's not so scary and that you're much stronger and you're much braver than what you give yourself credit for. So maybe that is something about this full moon. And then lastly, this is a good thing, which I quite like to see this. So basically, Neptune is trine Venus, and at the same time, Pluto is sextile Venus. So this is so much about compassion and healing and trust and devotion. But this is also about accepting your faults, forgiving yourself and others. And it makes me think about what's been coming up for me in therapy over the past few years. And my therapist always talks about this, and he talks about the difference between mature love versus immature love. So, immature love can be this sort of like, I love you, I hate you, I love you, I hate you, this type of thing. But mature love is it's loving someone, but also recognizing that it's also okay to not like certain things that somebody else does or to disagree with certain things that somebody else does. You can still love someone, even whenever you're arguing, for example, right? That's just something that I wanted to add in there. So I feel as if this is a full moon that's going to bring up this type of stuff for us. And I think a big part of it is actually being able to reflect on our own stuff, what we bring to the equation. Often we don't like to look at what's going on within us, especially if we feel as if, oh, well, I messed up there. I'm in the wrong. Many of us don't like to admit when we're wrong. Um, and that requires humility, doesn't it? So I feel as if this is a full moon, it's going to really trigger us in this way. And if we want to connect on a more deeper level, then we've got to be honest about even the more sort of darker themes or negative qualities that we bring to the party, to the relationship. But you see, with that in mind, this is also about serenity. This is also about recognizing that you're not alone. You don't have to suffer alone. You're not a burden on anyone. This is something I've noticed as well in my own sort of observations throughout life, just my life experience. And it is that many people don't want to accept help, or they don't want to reach out, or they don't want to open up to people because they don't want to feel like they're a burden on other people. And it is interesting to think about, isn't it? Because we all live such busy lives, and it feels as if the more that we progress as a society, the busier we become. Or maybe it's because I'm getting older, I'm coming into my 30s, and maybe this is a part of growing up. Like you just notice, oh, there's just so much to do. There's so many bills to pay, and um, there's so many projects to get through, and you're on to the next thing, and you're on to the next thing. And then before you know it, a few days have passed, and you haven't even called your friend, or you haven't called your parents, or you haven't checked in on someone. And so maybe there's also a part of this where we just become overwhelmed, so overwhelmed by all of the many tasks and responsibilities that we have piled up. But the thing is that maybe this partly holds us back from reaching out to other people because it's like, oh, well, they have their own stuff going on. Um, but I am reflecting on this a little bit in my life. What I want to do is I want to try and make more of a conscious effort to help people realize that, like, if they need me, I'm here. If my family, if you need me, I'm here. My friends, if you need me, I'm here. My partner, if you need me, I'm here. You're not a burden. You don't need to worry about annoying me or upsetting me or getting in the way or anything like that. Like, I'm here for you. And maybe this is a full moon where it is about establishing that greater depth, that greater honesty. But then the other thing about this is this is another quote that I find. Unfortunately, I forget the name of the person who said this one. Maybe I will link it afterwards. I'll do that afterwards or link it down below. But it says, some things in life cannot be fixed, they can only be carried. And that to me was just so eye-opening, especially as someone who has a Virgo rising. And I think it's so true. I've been reflecting on it for the past week or so. Um, and it is quite a true statement in that there's just certain things that we can't fix, and you can't just turn back the clock, right? For example, the loss of a loved one, okay? You'll there that fact of them, they're never going to be here again in the flesh, in the physical. That's a huge thing. And so it's about sort of carrying that grief. It's carrying that person with you in your memories, in your body, you know. Um and just that knowingness of, like, they existed and you shared space with them for some time, for however long it was. So this, I think, also highlights the importance of what I was saying with Jupiter. And it's like, what and who do you take for granted? And how can you also give appreciation and thanks for each day? The reality is that tomorrow is not guaranteed to any of us. And so this is why it is so vital. It's so vital to connect with those that we can connect with whilst they're here. Now, the dispositor of Venus here is in Capricorn. So Pluto there is in Capricorn at 29 degrees, the anaretic degree. So maybe this is also pointing towards. So I'm talking about these realizations that have come up for me over the past while. But you see, I think that this sextile is actually looking at the long-term changes to do with these things. It's looking at the breakthroughs, relationship shifts that we will not forget. This is about maturity. Again, it goes back to maturity. And Capricorn is such a mature, old soul sign. This is about seeing clearly who is there for us and how we can also be there for others. But once you see it, when it comes to Scorpio energy, Pluto energy, once you see it, once it's held up to the light, you can't unsee it. Once, there is that awareness and it's so recognizable and it's staring you right in the face, you can't just, forget it. Some of us may try to, some of us may try to deny, or some of us may try to avoid or not want to go there. The thing about that is it just keeps coming back. It just keeps coming back. So better to integrate it, isn't it? And then the last thing I want to say with this is on the 29th of December, Venus will indeed sextile Pluto at 29 degrees. So this energy that I talk about around the full moon, it will intensify by the 29th. And then the last thing is there will be one more sextile between Pluto and Venus in these signs at 29 degrees, October 2024. Okay, so that's all of the aspects. I'm just going to read through your comments. Tea time, creator. Hi, Yasmina. Hello, 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 hello. So I'm only reading through the comments now. There's so many at this point. But thank you for being here. Hello, David. Hi. How are you doing? How are you doing, Jasmina? How are you doing, David? Who else has joined? I'm trying to see if anybody else. Ellie. Hi, Ellie Starseed. Welcome. Danielle, you said you're obsessed with astrology. Here, I'll show you. Yay for astrology. Cassio, I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Welcome to you. And let me see. You say busy? Yeah. Yeah. Creator said, have a sip of that tea. I need to I need to get like a wee saucer, like a wee saucer and a wee teacup, and just like with pinky finger, just oh, that's good, David. I'm glad. Here, I hope you and Nicola have a lovely Christmas. I hope you have a great Christmas. And you enjoy yourselves. I'm sure you will. And he has. Hi, hello. How are you doing? Oh, yeah, I need to get that. I will. I'll get a little saucer and a teacup, and it'll be like Alice in Wonderland, with the Mad Hatter and like the rabbit. That movie is so good. Alice in Wonderland movie. I'm late. I'm late for a very important date. Is that what does he say? A very important date? I don't know. But he just says, I'm late. I'm late. Hello, Francisco, as well. I'm just trying to see if I've missed saying hello to anybody. Hello, Sakillian. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. Sakillian. Hi, I hope you're doing good. Okay, I think. Oh, sincerely, sincerely, Calypso. Hello. You have Venus 4 degrees Pisces. Oh, so Saturn's going to be quite close to your Venus, and then Venus will make a sextile to the Sun in Capricorn, and then a trine to the Moon in Cancer during this full moon. Right, I think I've said hello to everyone. Okay, going to get into your horoscopes. Yes, yeah. Oh, you said you will. You've got a magical solstice on Friday. Oh, are you doing something for the solstice? But yes, winter solstice. Happy winter solstice, everyone. Okay, no problem. Okay, cool. See you later, David. Have a good rest of your day. Okay. You mentioned the serenity prayer because you made affirmation and prayer cards for each sign, and you use the serenity prayer for Pisces. Oh, I love that, Cassio. I really, really love that. It's so true, though, isn't it? Okay, so the full moon is on the 26th of December. All right, so let's get into your horoscopes. I don't have a little teacup, but I'm gonna get one. I have water for now. Oh, I love that. That's gonna be so cool. Okay. Right, so Aries. Aries. Let me just adjust my screen. Aries, this full moon is going to happen in your 4th house. So, June 2022, you set new intentions to do with family, home, emotional security. But this time around, with the full moon, this is about things coming to fruition. This is about possibly reaping rewards when it comes to family connection, family relationships. Maybe this is also getting a few answers regarding family relationships. Or this is about some news or clarity regarding your living situation. Okay, so looking at your home, and maybe this is also about releasing a certain attitude or a certain emotional pattern when it comes to home, right? So, on that note, I want to say that the moon will make a trine to Saturn in your 12th house. So, that trine to Saturn, I feel, can be quite a supportive energy in that, maybe for you, this is about going within, journaling. This is about spiritual awareness as well. Maybe a lot will come up for you when it comes to your spiritual practices during this full moon. But the sun will also make a trine to Jupiter retrograde. So, whilst all of this stuff is happening within the home on a very emotional level, there's also more of a conscious awareness, so more of this conscious effect toward your achievements, your long-term goals, toward your professional life, and maybe that trine to Jupiter retrograde will support you in a way where, okay, there's also time to reassess and to reevaluate a few financial matters, to reevaluate your resources, your skills, your talents, these types of things. Taurus. So back in June 2022, you set new intentions to do with sibling relationships, maybe looking at that emotional connection with a sibling, or being somewhat receptive to your cousins, or looking at just family dynamics or family matters here with respect to siblings and cousins. Or, maybe there was new intentions or planting new seeds with regard to how comfortable you felt within your local area, within your neighborhood. But this is a full moon that's going to illuminate things for you, these matters for you, or perhaps there's a bit of a reset, or perhaps this is about reaping some rewards. Okay, so this could look like you receiving some comforting news or supportive news from a family member, or this could look like you feeling somewhat more protected within your local area. Or maybe there's just greater clarity coming through. So, greater clarity when it comes to communication, or just feeling like you're on the same wavelength in a more intellectual way, maybe with a cousin or with a neighbor. Now, the moon will also make that trine to Saturn in your 11th house. So, this is quite supportive energy in that, the stuff we talked about regarding the emotional connection and communication, that stuff I think is also related to friends and teams and networks. Maybe there's something coming through here about community, the sort of community that you're building, or the sort of community that you're bringing a form to and that you're working toward at the minute. And yeah, so there's that emotional support and there's that receptivity. Now, there's also the sun making a trine to Jupiter retrograde. So the sun being in the ninth house for you, Taurus. So whilst there is more of the emotional stuff going on with the moon in Cancer, there's also this consciousness toward your beliefs, toward higher education, advanced training, um, your philosophies, these types of things, further self exploration, and being practical, being realistic about these matters. But this stuff is also being supported by this Jupiter retrograde energy in the first house. So maybe what will come up for you is this continuation of the reevaluation regarding your life path, your aims, your ambitions, your goals. I feel like this is about trying to manage these areas in a way where things just make practical sense. And maybe you feel somewhat uplifted or like hopeful about the future in this way, about the next step. Okay, Gemini. So, Gemini, thinking back to June 2022, there was a new moon in your second house. So, back then, this could have looked like you setting new intentions to do with your skills and your talents. Maybe thinking here along the lines of, how can I support people better when it comes to my skills? Or I recognize that a skill of mine is being very caring and actually quite receptive and concerned about other people's needs. So maybe there was something back then about, okay, well, I'm going to set intentions, I'm going to plant new seeds and just see how things go, see how things accumulate and progress, etc. But then again, it could also be where you set new intentions regarding, well, your security, right? Your physical security, your resources, your finances, your belongings, and so maybe there was a lot of like reflection back then and intentions, like I said. So the intention setting. So with the full moon this time happening in your second house, this is a continuation of these things. And I think that this could be where a certain way forward comes to light, or this is about illuminating your skills and your talents, and even being able to sort of recognize, hey, do you know what? I'm really good at that. I can see that within me. I can see that what I value in myself is how supportive I am as a person, or how caring I can be as a person, or how insightful I can be as well. And so there's greater clarity in this way, and maybe also greater clarity even to do with your resources and your materials, right? Where perhaps you can see, okay, this is what I value the most in terms of my resources, or this is what I really need actually. If I'm to feel somewhat stable and secure, I need these things. I need these connections. I need to feel close to people in this type of way so that I can feel more secure from within. Maybe there's a part of that going on. Um, and maybe there's also something here about, so if we consider how the moon is making a trine to Saturn there in the 10th house, maybe there's something here about you feeling somewhat supported within your professional life, or supported in front of the public. Maybe you can sense or feel that there's people around you who show support and care and kindness and compassion towards you. And there seems to be this sort of nice, empathetic appreciation going on there. Something quite spiritual as well, maybe aligning quite well with people's spiritual qualities and their beliefs, and seeing as well. Um, there was something about the second house. I had it in my mind, but I lost it. I lost it. Like I just gotta just let it fall away. It's gone. It's gone. But that's okay. But let's even continue on by saying with the sun. So the sun is in the 8th house, and then Jupiter is also there retrograde in the 12th house. So whilst there is also this like emotional feel going on, there's also more of an awareness related to shared resources, joint accounts, joint affairs, joint matters, whatever, sharing space, sharing with others, but being responsible, being mature when it comes to these matters too, or even looking at those professional, more realistic qualities and being disciplined as well. And this is also being supported by your dreams, right? Maybe for many Gemini, there's just a lot of reevaluation and reassessing when it comes to your dreams and your fantasies and the things that you want to achieve materially and stuff like this. But maybe this full moon, there's a smooth energy flow here to do with these things and how they relate. So how that energy flow relates to um other people's resources or intimacy, even like looking at intimacy. There's just something about diving deeper basically during this full moon for many Gemini, and strongly considering, what your values are and how you connect with your values. That was the thing. That was the thing earlier with the moon there in the second house that I wanted to touch on. It was about the sort of clarity here coming up regarding your values in this respect, and how it is that you value comfort and emotional security and your emotional needs being met as well. So, yeah, a lot of emotional stuff, I think, coming up for many Gemini during this full moon. Okay, so Cancer. Cancer, let's get into your sign. This is your full moon, right? Because the full moon is happening in your sign. So I want you to think back to June 2022, right? And I want you to consider the intentions that you set back then when it came to your life path, your direction, your aims, your goals, even your physical body possibly. Maybe there was something about you planting new seeds there. But then this full moon is going to indicate some type of clarity, some type of realizing, or things are being illuminated. And perhaps in this respect, you let a few things go. That's possible, right? You decide to move on, maybe from a certain direction that actually doesn't serve you in the long run. Or perhaps what comes up is you gaining or reaping rewards to do with your aims and your goals. This could be where a certain aim of yours, it's coming to completion, right? There's some sort of completion happening and it's being illuminated, and you're like, oh my gosh, I did that. I was tenacious, I was determined, I was dedicated, I was strong, I was resilient. Then again, this could be a sort of new cycle, a new cycle to do with your life path, and really just going in a whole other direction. Something even coming through here is your identity reshaping in this whole new way, um, and even possibly feeling somewhat aligned with your spiritual beliefs too, because the moon will be supported by Saturn during this full moon. So, yeah, feeling aligned with your spiritual beliefs and your higher calling, your higher meaning, or connecting and relating a lot with people who possess, who are part of the same sort of denomination as you, or maybe they go to church with you, or you pray together, or you're a part of some type of religious group together, possibly. Or this could be where you are more so supported by your own dreams regarding travel, right? That could be where, so it could be where certain places that you want to travel to could very well become a reality for you. But this is the full moon where it's like, okay, the clarity is there. It's not necessarily where, okay, just on the full moon, you're gonna go traveling somewhere straight away. Maybe not necessarily, but well, it could be. It could be for some Cancerians. But yeah, I just think that this could be where you can see that there's a greater possibility, or you possibly even book a trip. And the trip, I think, is more about your spiritual, your spiritual self, your spiritual values. Now, Sun also makes a trine to Jupiter retrograde during this full moon. So, with the Sun here being in the seventh house, whilst there's a lot of this emotional side or this emotional part of it happening, there's also you being somewhat more conscious and deliberate about relationships and the types of people you want to work with and how you want to be taken seriously within certain partnerships and the types of clients and customers that you want to connect with. And if you, especially if you run a business or if you're a manager or you are a leader in some way. Many Cancerians are leaders. I mean, Cancer is such a leadership sign, this cardinal water sign, right? But yes, if you do run a business or if you are a leader in some way, maybe the Sun in the seventh house is pointing toward this greater determination, and taking charge or being in control or being in a position of authority. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean that in a positive way, where it's like, hey, you know what? Yeah, I'm really good at this. And I've been studying this for a long time, or I've been doing this for many years. And I wish to be compensated in the correct way for my skills, right? And then with that support to the 11th house, well, the 11th house can very much look at our hopes and our dreams. And so, with that, maybe there is something about, okay, the future here, or aligning with what your hopes are and being practical. Maybe your hopes are in some way connected to business or connected to partnership or making a certain deal or being able to collaborate with someone who is very significant to you. So yeah, maybe there's greater opportunity up ahead for you, Cancer. But of course, with this being retrograde, there is an element of reflection. And I'll also suggest with this one, friendship, networking, teamwork, being involved, being included, gathering people together, right? There's that sense of community here, I think, coming up during this full moon for many Cancerians. I'm just going to read through more of your comments for a moment. Oh, is my screen blurry? Hi, Brianna. Hi. How are you? I hope my screen is not blurry because I think were you saying about the screen being blurry? Oh, Danielle, you said it's not blurry for you. And okay, but you said it's not blurry for you either. Okay. That's okay. Okay, let's move on to Leo. So Leo, this full moon is going to happen in your 12th house. So think back to June 2022. The new moon here in your 12th house can suggest that you are setting new intentions to do with rest, relaxation, your spiritual values, your spiritual beliefs, setting new intentions to do with even, well, like possibly secluding yourself. And it could be where, maybe many of you needed to take some time to yourself or you needed to be alone. But just this can also indicate that isolation part of it, right? Isolating yourself, not wanting to be involved, not wanting to be included, maybe because of your feelings and your emotions. So that's maybe something just to be cautious of as we approach the full moon in Cancer, because it will be in your 12th house. But still, new intentions here with regard to your alone time, Leo. And maybe this full moon in Cancer will also highlight how things will come to fruition for you. These matters will be illuminated, or you will gain further insight, or you will journal more, or you will listen to music that just takes you to a whole other world. You'll dream, you'll meditate, you'll snuggle up, on the sofa, or you'll watch television, you'll escape maybe for a little bit. Yeah, there could be some qualities of escapism, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. Just do be cautious, of course, of any sort of unhealthy ways of escaping, right, Leo? So, yes, I think the full moon will bring clarity when it comes to how it is that you nurture yourself and comfort yourself behind the scenes, so outside of the public eye. Now, the moon is also going to be supported by Saturn there in the eighth house. So, this one I think can be beneficial for um, diving deeper into the unknown, into the mysteries of life, looking more so at the likes of astrology or looking more into occult like subjects, paranormal like subjects, and things that may be deemed as quite eerie or really mysterious to people. But I think there's a genuine curiosity here for many Leos when it comes to these areas, especially during the full moon. And maybe this also indicates here you taking some time to go inward as you reflect upon trust and commitment and emotional bonding and what it is that you need in order to open up, or what it is that you need in order to be vulnerable with other people. But that maybe requires a little bit of like reflection, or some having some sort of safe space, or just having some time to yourself to sort of think about, well, how would I like to connect with people on that level. Now, the sun will also make a trine to Jupiter retrograde. So there's some interesting energies here to do with your work, to do with your everyday life. So, sun being in the sixth house, yes, you will be reflecting a lot and being somewhat emotional with the moon in Cancer. But the sun here in the sixth house, I think for you, Leo, indicates you being somewhat conscious of your daily habits, your uh, your schedules, your routines, and how it is that you structure these things, how it is that you attend to these things in a very disciplined way, or in a rather cautious way, or in a realistic, practical way. Okay, I'm coughing. Maybe this is also about health. Okay, that's coming to my mind after me coughing. Perhaps there's a few matters here to do with your health, and especially considering the time that you pour into your health. And maybe this is also about potentially looking at any limitations or any blockages to do with your health and how you can take your health seriously. And at the same time, with the trine to Jupiter retrograde in your 10th house, this stuff is being supported by your audience, by the public, by managers, bosses. To be honest, this could look like for a few Leos just some well needed time off work, just being able to recharge over the holidays. Or maybe this is about returning to the drawing board when it comes to career ideas, when it comes to the services that you provide, or this is about reevaluating your health goals or your security goals in this way and how they relate to your profession. Okay, so looking to Virgo. So Virgo, there was the new moon, June 2022. And during that new moon in Cancer, you set new intentions to do with community, teams, to do with friendships, to do with your hopes and wishes for the future. This was a time period of you strongly considering who cares, who genuinely cares, who's supportive, who can you trust, who can you rely on, who do you feel protected by? Is there a level of being receptive and being nurturing and being caring and really genuinely warm within bigger groups? How do you feel supported? And then this full moon is going to illuminate all of this stuff for you, Virgo, on the 26th. Things are much more clearer. You may relate to people in a whole new way, or you can maybe even see that people do care. People have their insights that they wish to share with you, and there's greater security, there's greater honesty in this way, there's greater openness. You do feel supported, you feel protected, you feel nurtured. And maybe this is also where reaping rewards come into this, right? So the reaping rewards here to do with, hey, you know what? I genuinely feel the compassion of other people, or maybe the rewards coming from you, if you will, um, where you can recognize within yourself that you're sensitive to other people's needs, you're sensitive to the needs of the group in this way. And maybe there's also some nostalgia or being sentimental with members of the group too. Now, Moon will also make a trine to Saturn there in the 7th house. So, this is supportive energy. This supported energy could look like you feeling somewhat stable and grounded and secure within certain relationships. Or maybe this is about recognizing that you have these mature bonds, right? These healthy, mature, emotionally mature bonds and relationships and connections with others, especially on a one-on-one level. Or maybe this is about recognizing that there is a solid sort of number of people who are really there to support you, even in a business way. Or this is about working alongside clients and customers where there is like a mature feel, there's a sensible approach, there's a rational approach, and there is a secure, steady feeling, where things just feel just more secure for you, and that I think is very much welcomed for many or by many Virgos. Yeah, so I think that this could be quite a supportive energy basically when it comes to relationships and establishing like healthier bonds and connections. Now, the Sun will also make a trine to Jupiter retrograde. So, the Sun being there in the 5th house and then Jupiter retrograde being in the 9th. So, whilst, yes, there's a lot of the emotional stuff happening for you, Virgo, when it comes to friendships and groups and teams, there's also this consciousness toward creativity and your projects and fun and play and having some time off. Maybe this is a really good opportunity for many Virgos to take some well needed, well earned time off, or this is about taking a little bit of time to evaluate what lights you up. What what is it that fills your heart? What is it that excites you? And with Jupiter retrograde, maybe there's also an element of further exploration or being able to assess bigger themes or being able to reevaluate the higher meaning. Your higher meaning, so for example, what are your intentions? What are all of your creative projects for? And what's their meaning? What's their purpose? Why are you doing these things? Really taking your time to think about the why factor. So Libra, June 2022, there was the new moon in your 10th house. So back then, you were setting new intentions to do with your purpose, your life path, your career. If it is that you have a career, you were setting new intentions to do with like how you feel with respect to your audience, with respect to the public, with respect to a certain position or a role. The 10th house can often even look at our sort of public persona in this way. So maybe there was some fluctuations that came up, or you were basically setting new intentions there back then. And so this full moon is going to illuminate all of this. This full moon on the 26th of December is about, okay, well, what have you even learned? And what about some clarity? Is there any clarity that comes up? Maybe you realize that a certain role or position is no longer for you. Maybe you let go of a few attachments there, or maybe you realize where it is that you do feel supported by certain public members, group members in this way, or by bosses and managers, right? Like feeling supported and recognized by certain bosses and managers, and recognizing yourself as a boss if it is that you have your own business. So yeah, there's this sort of like supportive, comforting influence coming up here during this full moon for many Libras, and possibly and so reaping rewards to do life's work and getting some sort of insight or feedback or support from other people when it comes to these very things. And the other thing I want to say is the moon is making a trine to Saturn in the 6th house. So this is supportive energy. So I think indeed this can look like you gaining some type of help or assistance from members of service. So from people of service, or um, others providing a service to you, or you providing a service to someone else. But there is a holding energy in this. And there's also a compassionate element to this as well, like feeling the compassion from other people. This could even be where many Libras over the past like number of years with Neptune in your 6th house, you feel like you've been drowning when it comes to the workload, when it comes to your responsibilities, when it comes to your duties. There's just a lot that has been piling up, many obligations, etc. But Saturn, whilst it can also suggest limitations and blockages and restrictions and these types of things and hardships, Saturn can also indicate, I think, um, the assistance of other people, other people maybe coming along and helping you carry the load for a little bit. Maybe we especially see this with the trine to the moon, okay, where there is some type of help that you've been needing for a while. And I wouldn't say Libras are the best at reaching out for help. I think a lot of Libras, especially with Capricorn in the 4th house, you tend to keep a lot in, and you tend to think that you can manage everything on your own, which I find quite interesting, even though you're relationship orientated type of people. But yeah, maybe there is a bit of reaching out here essentially and support. Maybe even making significant changes to your health or to your diet, exercise, these types of things. Now, the sun will also make a trine to Jupiter. So the sun there is in the fourth house. Maybe this further indicates this um, responsibility coming from family members or other people playing a role or playing their part within the home, recognizing that everybody has their own sort of purpose, their own individual sort of rule when it comes to family and their own responsibilities, etc., etc. So, yeah, whilst there's a lot of this emotional stuff going on here, there's also more of a conscious awareness toward family and home, and even toward emotional support, emotional security. But with that trine to Jupiter retrograde, there is this supportive energy. So maybe this is pointing towards some type of intimacy, or um, this is about being supported in a material way, or this is about sharing feedback, sharing resources, um, financially, sort of um, depending on someone, but not necessarily in a way where you owe anybody anything like this. It's more about it's more about a genuine connection, and other people wanting to be there for you. Really, this is what I'm getting from this energy. But this is also about you reevaluating intimacy and your own connections with others on an intimate level, perhaps. Right, so Scorpio. Scorpio, there was the new moon in your ninth house back in June 2022. So you were setting new intentions basically to do with your belief systems, to do with your higher meaning, to do with possibly your philosophies, your religion, your faith, these types of things. Or maybe you were setting new intentions to do with moving or relocating, etc. But then you see, with the full moon happening here in the ninth house on the 26th of December, things are going to be so much more clear. Maybe there's greater clarity, or you can see the bigger picture better, or you see it in a whole different light, or maybe rewards that you reap are somehow more about others caring about your beliefs or wanting to hear you talk about the things that you connect with, in this more meaningful way. Or maybe this is about you being open to a new course or to a new study or practice, or this is about further training. I just think that this is a type of like opening up energy, opening yourself up to new horizons, to new opportunities. And with the moon also making that trine to Saturn, yeah, maybe this supportive energy with Saturn is looking at creativity. So maybe training and further education, these greater opportunities, they're linked to your creativity, or they're linked to children, or they're linked to your hobbies or your interests, the things that really light you up, the things that you enjoy. Yeah, there can be greater forms of enjoyment in this way. And maybe these forms of enjoyment are somehow tied to your spiritual healing, your spiritual practices, and then, like I said, your beliefs. But maybe there is also this part of it where family very much comes into the equation. But then Sun is also making that trine to Jupiter retrograde. So the Sun is in the third house, Jupiter retrograde in the seventh. Yeah, Sun, I think here in the third house can look at you being somewhat more consciously aware of siblings and cousins and aunties and uncles and neighbors and your more sort of immediate environment in this way. So there's a lot of this emotional stuff going on when it comes to long distance stuff, when it comes to bigger picture stuff. But on a more like everyday, mundane level, I think, well, in a closer level too, I think this is about you knowing what your standards are, um knowing what you are serious about when it comes to your more like general, immediate area. And also when it comes to communication, right? So yeah, I think many of you Scorpios, it's more about, okay, what would I like to achieve within this discussion? What am I wanting to get out of this discussion? How can we form some sort of um connection here whenever we communicate? And maybe this is also about receiving an accomplishment, or achieving, rather, like achieving an accomplishment when it comes to communication or a study, something that you've been learning about. And then with that supportive energy to the seventh house, perhaps such matters are linked to clients and customers, your services. They're linked to your relationships, basically. Yeah, maybe there's a greater likelihood of you having and experiencing harmonious um collaborations, essentially, during this full moon. And then when we look to Sagittarius, so the new moon back in June 2022, you were setting new intentions to do with vulnerability, intimacy, opening up, getting close, sharing, trust, commitment, these types of things. I feel like a lot of Sagittarians, you it can take a while to really let people in and to let them see your vulnerabilities. And then whenever you do create that like emotional bond and that connection, then oh yeah, you're so much more willing to go there. But that requires time, doesn't it? That requires patience, and it requires effort. It requires trust and intimacy and establishing that bond. It can't be forced, right? So with those intentions being set back then, this is a full moon where things are becoming illuminated, where things are being brought to light, and you can see things a lot more clearly, or you even decide, well, what isn't working for you and what doesn't serve you when it comes to intimacy and emotional closeness too, especially when it comes to family matters. You might even be able to stem things back quite a bit, Sagittarius, to childhood, to your upbringing, to kind of assess, well, why am I like that, and why is such and such like that, etc. And you can maybe see, oh, well, this happened in the family, and you dive deeper into your psychology in this way. So yes, there's that. There's also the part of this where there's some letting go, and releasing, but maybe as well reaping rewards to do with sharing, to do with intimacy, maybe realizing, like, who are the people that you want to sort of bare your soul to, to be maybe quite extreme. Who are the people that you trust and that you respect in this way. Now, Moon is also making that trine to Saturn in the fourth house, and I think that this further supports this energy. So, I think also this further even looks at, okay, this stuff is closely linked to family, it's closely linked to your home, it's closely linked to those emotional bonds, especially with family members. And then maybe as well, there's something here about your honesty and your vulnerability when it comes to home, and where you feel the safest, where you feel the most secure, where it is that you belong, who it is that you feel really connected to in this way. Now, Sun will also make a trine to Jupiter retrograde. So the Sun is in the second house, and then Jupiter retrograde is in the sixth. So, whilst there's a lot of this emotional stuff going on, especially when it comes to intimacy and trust and commitment, there's also this conscious awareness, I think, toward your resources, right? It's like, okay, these are the long term goals when it comes to my resources, when it comes to my belongings, when it comes to my skills and my talents, and this is the goal, and this is what I want to achieve. Sagittarius, you can be highly aspirational people. You really can. And you can actually set pretty high standards for yourselves. But with the trine then to Jupiter retrograde, I think this is supporting this energy, in that um, maybe there is something about you considering how your health is a part of this and how remaining positive about your health is a part of this, or how work is just a lot at the moment, right? Jupiter being your chart ruler, it's there in your sixth house. It's been there for quite a while. So from around May 2023, actually. So I think many of you Sagittarians, it's just been very much go, go, go. There's been a lot on your plate when it comes to work and your everyday lives and your schedules, your routines, etc. But maybe this full moon is highlighting then how these matters are related to then these long-term goals of yours, right? Going back to your skills, your talents, going back to your resources, your finances there to do with the sun in the second house. But I think this is supportive energy though. And so maybe you can feel somewhat upbeat or uplifted about the next step, or just trying to keep positive about your work and trusting that things will turn eventually if it is that things are maybe a little bit too overwhelming. But still, this could actually be some positive positive energy for many of you Sagittarians. So moving on to Capricorn. So Capricorn, back in June 2022, the new moon happened in your seventh house there. So this new moon, I think, highlights that back then you were setting new intentions to do with, well, collaborations, clients, relationships, but more in an emotional way, right? I think many Capricorns, like, you're looking for that emotional depth in relationships. It's just that often many people don't show that, and you can sense that they don't show that, and maybe you don't waste your time on people like this. But then the other part of it is you do take a while to warm up to other people, and you go at your own pace. And this isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? I think this can actually be quite a beneficial thing. I think many Capricorns know more than most that trust and vulnerability are to be built over time. And this is about gradually, like, letting people in and giving a little, taking a little, giving a little, taking a little, and just sort of, steadily building that rapport and that connection. So maybe during the new moon in Cancer, there were intentions, right, to do with these things. And maybe even it was about building rapport within business relationships too. And the full moon then in Cancer on the 26th of December, I think, will bring clarity, right? That there's so much clarity that will come up. Maybe this is about saying, okay, well, I feel secure here, this type of connection or this type of agreement, and not so much this contract I don't really want to sign because I don't really sense that it's going to go anywhere. I don't feel supported, or I don't feel like I care so much about this. And maybe this is also about recognizing the types of relationships that you're in, and genuinely feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm satisfied here. I feel good here. I feel content here. I feel like I am supported here. And this is also receptive energy, like being quite receptive and open to certain feedback that you receive within your relationships. So, yeah, I think the full moon can indicate some rewards to do with emotional support and emotional connection, and relating then on this more emotional level, where there is that greater emotional security. And then with the trine to the third house, well, moon trine Saturn there, I think, can indicate, like, um sensible discussions. Even consider how Saturn is the ruler for you, so your chart ruler. Sensible discussions, being mature about who you let in and who you don't let in, being mature about your own safe space, and even about the things that you share with other people, being mature in this way, and being reasonable and responsible, and taking what other people share with you quite seriously, in that, okay, well, this is something that means a lot to them, so I'm going to value that, I'm going to respect that. There's just so much integrity that's being formed for many Capricorns when it comes to your communication. Integrity is such a big, valuable, like, key word when it comes to your sign. So to have your chart ruler in the third house, yeah, integrity is indeed being built when it comes to communication. Now, Sun is also making that trine to Jupiter retrograde there. So the Sun is in the first house for you, of course. It is your season. Happy birthday to all of you solar Capricorns out there. So the Sun being in your first house is, yes, okay, there's a lot going on emotionally, unconsciously. There's a lot going on within, but there's also more of this conscious awareness toward your life path, your purpose, your goals, your aims, your physical appearance. This is very much about you taking center stage, Capricorn, shining. This is very much about you more so focusing on, okay, the long haul, or being in your element when it comes to responsibility and holding yourself accountable. And then there is that trine to Jupiter retrograde as well. So this supportive energy, I think, actually points toward a little bit of fun, spontaneity, doing something outside of your comfort zone. Just enjoy yourself. Enjoying yourself, Capricorn, around this full moon. I hope that you do. I really, really hope that you do, and that you take some time to indulge, just to do things that are a little bit more pleasurable, essentially. um just checking. Okay. Oh, thank you for your feedback. I'm reading through, especially Cassio, you said, with the Venus and Virgo energy. Oh, okay, so let's move on to Aquarius. So Aquarius, think back to June 2022. So you set new intentions regarding your services, your schedules, your routines, your health. Maybe many of you Aquarians, you were planting new seeds, setting new intentions to do with your emotional health, your emotional body, emotional wellness, I think, is a big part of this. I think Aquarians, you learn so much about your own emotional well-being throughout your life. So the moon in this position, I think, has highlighted this cycle, this process, basically, that you've been going through over the past few years regarding your emotional health and well-being. And then the full moon coming along here on the 26th of December, yeah, this is bringing up so much clarity. This is bringing up so many epiphanies and realizations about your emotional body and the relationship, your emotional body and the relationship that you have with your emotional body. And maybe this is also about the type of support and care that you provide within your services, the type of support and care that you offer within your services. I think that that is really important to many Aquarians. It's quite interesting to me that Aquarius can often be viewed as, like, super detached from their emotions and their feelings, but yet Cancer in the sixth house indicates that Aquarius, you really do care about other people, and you want to provide a service that comes from an emotional place. It comes from a place where you're valuing other people's feelings, um, um, and I think as well, this is perhaps looking at the many fluctuations that you can go through and experience when it when it comes to your routines and your daily habits and schedules, etc. Things can indeed, yeah, they can change, they can fluctuate. And Aquarians, you can be quite moody. you know, you can be quite moody at times. Yeah, I think two can be true at the same time, can't it? Where, maybe there can be some sort of more of an objectivity or a detachment toward your own emotions and feelings. But when it comes to other people, I do think that you do try to come from a good place, or from a kind, compassionate place. But this is the thing, I think it's that you gravitate toward rules, working positions that showcase this stuff. So yeah, the full moon here in your sixth house, I think, can indicate reaping rewards, basically, when it comes to work and your services, and when it comes to your emotional well-being, like I said. And maybe as well, looking here at greater clarity when it comes to coworker relationships and how secure and supported you feel by certain coworkers in your life and colleagues in your life, etc. Now, Moon is also making a trine to Saturn, retrograde there in the second house. So, this supportive energy, I think, can highlight that this is a full moon where you're going to be quite concerned about your physical security and the things that you have accumulated and the things that you want to keep, but also the things that no longer serve you and that only just limit you or they block you in some way. For example, maybe seeing that there's just a certain way of earning money that is not aligning with you anymore, or it's more hassle than what it's worth. Um those types of situations where, okay, sure, there's some sort of income, but is it really worth your energy? Is it really worth the amount of effort that you're putting in? So, maybe there's just some clarity or realizations coming up for you. And this isn't necessarily a bad thing, right? This could actually be quite healthy for you. Maybe this comes back to health. And then we also notice how Sun is in the 12th house and then Jupiter retrograde is in the 4th house. So, whilst there's a lot of the emotional inner stuff going on for you, especially when it comes to your working life and your everyday life and your routines and your habits, your daily habits, there's also, I think, a greater moment or time period of really going within reflection, like healing, doing all of the inner work, Aquarius. It's going to be your season next. So take your time throughout Capricorn season to maybe journal or to reflect or to do a lot of like contemplation about how you feel, and even contemplating upon and reflecting upon how the past 15 years has been. Pluto's gonna move into Aquarius the same day that the sun is going to move into Aquarius. So at the very beginning of your season, there will be this Pluto Cassimi in your sign in the first house. So maybe, yeah, this is indicating over the next while, um reflect, okay? Reflect, journal. If you can talk to someone about how you're feeling, which could be like, it could be that there's a lot of intense emotions that you really start to feel coming up to this full moon, especially toward the end of Capricorn season. But if you can, reach out for support, ask for some type of help. And then we also notice with the Jupiter retrograde energy, this is supportive energy. And this can even indicate that, the stuff I was talking about with support and help, etc. Maybe this is also indicating that there are certain family members that you may not realize that you can talk to, but actually you can talk to. And maybe as well, there's many lessons coming up for many Aquarians about family and about the past, and looking here at healthy emotional bonds and emotional attachments. But it's looking at the wisdom that you gain from such lessons and looking at the bigger picture as well. And lastly, we have Pisces. Okay, so Pisces, back in June 2022, there was this new moon in your 5th house. So, yeah, intention setting to do with, well, possibly children, possibly your creative projects here, your hobbies, your interests. You can be quite attached to your hobbies and your interests, Pisces. There's a real like longing, there's a yearning, there's a sense of belonging as well when it comes to your hobbies and your interests, and also when it comes to your forms of entertainment. Yeah, Pisces, whenever you really do enjoy something, when you love it so much, it's a staple. It becomes a comfort for you, like a major comfort blanket. It's all warm and cozy, and it makes you really attached, basically, and you can be sentimental and you can be nostalgic. So yes, you may have set new intentions to do with these matters back then. And then there was also, or there is going to be, the full moon in Cancer here on the 26th of December. And I think in this respect, it's going to illuminate a lot of this stuff. It's going to bring clarity when it comes to these attachments of yours. And maybe there's also greater clarity to be gained about children, realizing a few things. And maybe as well, being receptive or open to other approaches or other ways of handling your emotions, and how your emotions are related to the likes of children or creativity or your art, etc. And maybe another big part of this is reaping rewards to do with the things that you enjoy, like realizing truly, oh, this really brings me joy, this really makes me happy, oh, I haven't done this in years, this is bringing me back to childhood. The full moon in Cancer can bring up so much like nostalgia and sentimental feelings, and it's just like we're being transported back into the past, this type of stuff. So yeah, some rewards could come through here in this respect for you Pisces. And maybe as well rewards regarding like your memories in this way, and the history of a hobby of yours, getting in touch with that. I really like that about Pisces. I like with having Cancer in the fifth house and how it can indicate that you're willing to dive into the history of your interests and your passions and your hobbies. And because of that, then you have a really good like depth of knowledge in this respect. Now, Moon will also make a trine to Saturn in your first house. So this is supportive energy. It's interesting, Pisces, because with Saturn then transiting your first house over the next few years, um, this is going to indicate that you're gonna be focusing a lot upon what you're building, like what you're building in respect of with respect of your life path, your aims, your goals. You're going into this mode of, right, okay, it's time to get serious, it's time to get real, it's time to focus my energy right now. I'm building, I'm creating. So the trine to the moon is supportive energy because it's like, right, okay, yes, I'm going to be creative. Yes, I'm going to make time for that thing, that hobby of mine. I'm going to put in a little bit of effort each time. And you may as well even find yourself building more with romantic partners, right? That's another thing about the fifth house. You can look at a romantic partner. So you could very well gain clarity to do with romantic partners, to do with dating and love, etc. But that Saturn energy is supportive in that it can look at the long term. It can look at commitment for you. And then we also see how the Sun is in the 11th house and Jupiter is retrograde in the third house. So whilst there's a lot of this emotional stuff going on in relation to romance and love and children and creativity and your hobbies and so on, I think this is also about some conscious awareness regarding groups and networking and teams and who you want to work with and who you want to collaborate with, and what's your hopes and wishes when it comes to um your future, like the type of future that you really want to build toward. There can be this determination, this dedication when it comes to you Pisces, especially when you really put your mind at when you really put your mind at something, and you put your effort in and you're willing to like work hard, etc. You can do great things, especially when we consider how, okay, there's the Capricorn energy in the 11th, and then Saturn's the ruler of your 11th, and that's in your first house. Maybe it's like, okay, well, these are the dreams that I have, the imagination going on for me. Well, the full moon in Cancer and Capricorn season could also indicate, well, this is about me making these things a reality, right? And just showing that willpower too, showing that strength and that courage. But you see, the other thing is there is the trine to Jupiter retrograde in the third house. And so this is supportive energy saying, hey, maybe a little bit of optimism, a little bit of positivity can go a long way. Or maybe this is about being practical, right? Maybe this is about seeing how your knowledge can be applied in practical ways, by showing or doing practical methods. And there can be that consistency as well. But still, Jupiter retrograde is more about, okay, time to reevaluate, time to kind of go over a few of these practical matters, even looking at communication in this way, and um, the types of people that you communicate with within groups and teams and even friendships, right? And how certain discussions and conversations can assist you in some way when it comes to what it is that you're building. Okay. Right, so that is us. Um, David, you said good timing, so you just caught yours. What else? What else? Right. Okay, that is me. Everyone, that's all of your horoscopes. Just give me some time to put the timestamps at the very end. Thank you all so, so much for watching today. And just want to remind you of Patreon. So if you do want access to extra astrology content early, you can do so over at Patreon. There's the Scorpio mythology video that is up at the moment. And there's also a video, a behind the scenes video about the eating habits of the Venus signs. So did you know that the Venus signs, so Venus can look at your eating habits basically. So if you want to check out the video, it's over there. And I also just want to say thank you so, so much to all my patrons over at Patreon. I appreciate all of your support. I really, really do. And super, super thankful. And if you would like to buy me a coffee for after listening to today's video, you can do so. No pressure though. But I just want to say thank you so much. Thank you for listening. And Merry Christmas, everyone! If you celebrate Christmas, Merry Christmas. I hope you have a great day, a great time, whatever you get up to. And if you don't celebrate Christmas, then just happy holidays to everyone. Happy holidays, whatever it is that you get up to. Aha! So that is us. Thank you very much, creator. Thank you. Thank you, Kesio. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly again. Jemay, you said that you're late. Oh, well, you can watch the replay then. Sorry you missed it. And let me see. Brianna, thank you so much. Thank you. David, you said Merry Christmas. Thank you. You too, David. Okay, I am going to get going then. um, yeah, I could definitely stay on longer. I just love to talk. I'm in one of those moods. But no, I really got to get going. Like I said, just wait a little bit and I will put up the timestamps. Have a great rest to your week, everyone, and I'll see you next week. Bye.